everybody, and welcome to my spoiler talk for Zack Snyder's Justice League, because recently when I reviewed the film, of course, I couldn't really give away too many spoilers, and there are a few things that I wanted to touch on, but because of the whole spoiler thing, basically I couldn't. So, I know I said at the time I was going to do a spoiler review a few days later, because I just loved the movie so much, really wanted to talk about it, and yeah, it's taken a little bit more time than I'd planned, but thank you to the few people who have actually said that you're anticipating this video and stuff, because, it still kind of baffles me at times that there are people out there who care what I think. Alright, so let's get stuck into it, and of course, this is completely spoiler stuff, so if you haven't seen Zack Snyder's Justice League, go and check out my non-spoiler review, but look, let's face it, by this point, everybody has seen it. I've seen it twice now. I loved the film so much that after seeing it the first time, even though it's 4 hours long and really exhausting, I couldn't wait to sit down and watch it again. And second time around, I enjoyed it just as much. And there was a friend of mine who actually said to me, these days we binge TV shows. Like, it's not uncommon that we will sit on the couch and actually spend 6 to 8 hours, watching a TV show. So 4 hours allocated to a movie this day and age really isn't that much. So so as far as things that I wanted to talk about, there's also a few things that I kind of picked up on that I maybe forgot to mention. Things like, because of course of the bigger runtime, we were able to include, more characters, such as Willem Dafoe's character from Aquaman, who gets some screen time in this film. So, I liked that it kind of bridged the gaps between the DCEU a little bit better. Because you had like that. There was also, with the flashback battle scene, how Zeus was actually there, which kind of ties it into Shazam a little bit more. So, I kind of like that it did, a little bit of gap filling there, if you will. And I also like how Mark McClure, who played Jimmy Olsen in the original Superman films, in the Joss Whedon version of Justice League, he was the clerk at the police station when Barry Allen goes to visit his dad. So, of course, that scene was cut out, but in this time around, he plays a cop in the scene when Superman comes back. I might be mistaken. Like, I don't think he was in the Joss Whedon version in that scene. If I'm incorrect, by all means, let me know. But I just don't recall him being in that scene previously. But I love so much how just so much got expanded on, and we had time to actually do it this time around. It's been talked to death, so I'm not going to go too much into Cyborg, but, of course, his story is the heart of the movie now, and you can tell why Ray Fisher wasn't very happy that his stuff got cut. But there's also things like, with the Amazons, with the Arrow of Artemis, when Diana picks it up and she puts it in the wall and she goes down into the tomb, and there's that sort of big mural which is foreshadowing the mother boxes and stuff. Like, I just liked all that stuff. It probably wasn't that necessary, really, but it was still pretty cool to see. Like, there's a lot of things in this movie that they might not have been completely necessary, but they were still pretty damn cool. And even though, like, when I say it's not necessary, it still did add to, Diana's quest, like why she needed to join the Justice League. So that's a little bit confusing because I'm sort of contradicting myself. No, it is necessary if you want to expand the character and if you want to expand the story. But, in terms of if you want to condense your runtime, then it's not necessary. That's what I'm trying to say right now. So back to Victor Stone. There is just so much that was added to his story and his character and fleshed out the movie. But one of the things in particular that I really loved was that scene where he's getting used to his powers of, like, control over the internet, and, he, like, makes the cash appear and puts it into the account of that single mom waitress who... I just love that scene, and I love so much that the actress who played her actually got on Twitter and was asking people if her scene was put back in because she didn't have access to the movie, and she was like really hoping, and like there were just so many people who were just, you know, outpouring goodwill to her and stuff and saying how great she did, and she was so happy. And you know, just even though that's sort of aside from the film, you know, it was really cool to see. And yeah, I liked that kind of gave Victor Stone another level, like that sort of altruistic nature. Even though he's wrestling with his own demons, he still had a chance to give to somebody. Probably not legally, but yeah, you know, it was still a cool gesture, and I like that about him. Another thing that I really dug was the fact that the third mother box, this time around, it wasn't so easy to get. Like, in the Joss Whedon version, that was one thing that really annoyed me. As much as I liked that movie, I've always maintained that film had flaws, and one of them was that, you know, after Superman is reborn and the mother box goes flying out and crashes onto the car, and the rest of the Justice League have to come to terms with Superman kicking their asses, basically a parademon just comes down, boom, oh, there's the mother box, boom, he's gone. Or maybe it was Steppenwolf. But this time around, yeah, like, you know, you got that whole scene where Victor's dad, like, you know, takes the mother box into that room to, you know, fire the laser into it to supercharge it, and Steppenwolf comes crashing through, and you know, you get that sacrifice moment of his dad. I mean, God, that whole scene was so much better than just boom, hey, we got the mother box, let's go. You know, so that's one reason why I'm just so glad that this runtime does go for as long as it does, because, you know, we just get to see all this cool stuff that, yeah, was really important to making it a good story. Because that's one thing with this film, like, you know, I liked the original Justice League. I had a good time with it, but that was because I didn't realize at the time how much better it could be. Now that I've seen how much better it could be, it's going to be really freaking hard to go back to the original version, which sucks because I got the 3D Blu-ray sitting right there and it looks great in 3D, but I just don't know if I can watch it again because, yeah, even though, you know, at the time I liked it, like, now I feel differently about it. But probably my favorite thing in this version was the treatment of Steppenwolf. You know, he's not just bad guy here to do bad thing. He is answering to somebody. He's answering to Darkseid. You know, he is a minion, and as I said in my normal review, like, you don't feel sympathy for him, really, not like Thanos, so you can kind of understand where he's coming from. But it just added so much more character to that guy. And even Darkseid, like, you know, had sort of a big motivation and everything. So even though, yeah, he was a little bit more two-dimensional, just the way that they treated Steppenwolf in this was amazing. And another thing that I really, really loved was how they've brought the anti-life equation into this, because that is a really huge part of Darkseid's motivation and everything in the comics, is this anti-life equation. It's been sort of dealt with in various ways over many, many years. But yeah, it is a really significant part of DC lore and Darkseid, you know, his story. So yeah, it was really cool that they actually, you know, mentioned it. But this is where it comes into things that I didn't like about the new version. The first and foremost was that this movie, it seems to be setting up so much. It's set up the anti-life equation. It's set up the Justice League. It's set up Martian Manhunter, who is appearing in this and who I was just giddy to see because I got into the Justice League comics back in the 90s, and at that point, Martian Manhunter was the leader of the Justice League, so he's always been, like, you know, this really huge character in the whole DC universe, and yeah, it was, like, really cool that we got to see him now. But there's been so much set up that I don't think we're going to get to see now, because Ben Affleck has been replaced in the role of Batman, of course, by Robert Pattinson, but he will be appearing in the Flash solo movie. And speaking of the Flash, one of the finest actors of our generation, Billy Crudup, has been replaced in the role of Henry Allen by Ron Livingston, which is kind of cool because I do actually like Ron Livingston. But yeah, like the entire DCEU is just a complete shambles, which really breaks my heart because, you know, I've always been a DC fan since day one, like since I was a toddler, literally. But in terms of the films, you know, like Marvel just do it so much goddamn better. There is just no question about that whatsoever. So yeah, I didn't like that it's set up so much. And, you know, the nightmare scene at the end where we see the Joker and stuff, like, it was completely unnecessary because it's not going to be continuing on. Well, I mean, I say that, but we also didn't think we would ever get to see the Snyder Cut of Justice League. So, I mean, who knows? I mean, if we throw enough hashtags out there, who knows what'll happen? But yeah, it was just a shame. Like, you could just tell that all this stuff was just tacked on, shoehorned in for fan service, which, yeah, you know, it was cool seeing it. I like how Harley Quinn got a mention and stuff. You know, just kind of biased there. But at the end of the day, like, it didn't serve any purpose whatsoever. And I also kind of thought the whole end was very incoherent. You also had things like the Lex Luthor scene with Deathstroke, where that was changed now. Instead of setting up Injustice League, you know, he gives Deathstroke that information that Batman is Bruce Wayne. And yeah, but then you kind of like, well, you know, yeah, it's sort of a shocking revelation, but I don't know if I want to get too excited about it because it could be going nowhere. So yeah, that was a real shame. And there was a couple of things in the Joss Whedon version that I actually really liked and was a little bit disappointed they were gone. Okay, one of them actually, it didn't really matter that it was gone. I liked the scene where Aquaman is sitting there like giving his true feelings for Wonder Woman because he was sitting on the lasso. I know it's silly. I know that. And realistically, it needed to be gone because it disrupted the tone of the film. There was actually a really great video that I saw last night, and I might put a link to it in my description box, actually, because I want everyone to see it. It was basically dissecting the two different versions of the film and talking about, like, why, you know, the big differences between them and why they affected each other. And yeah, one of them was talking about the tone, and the guy nailed it. And so yeah, like, even though I do agree that that should have gone, it's kind of a shame because, yeah, it was pretty funny. But the one thing that I think could have stayed, that I think, you know, belonged in the film and suited everything, was when they go to rescue the hostages that Steppenwolf has taken. And in the Joss Whedon version, the Flash is really overwhelmed by everything that's going on, and he doesn't have the confidence to act. And, you know, Batman says to him, rescue one. And he's like, what? And Batman's like, you know, if you rescue one, you know, you'll be able to keep doing it and everything, because he has that confidence. He knows that Barry Allen's capable of doing it. It's just that he needed that push. And I loved that so much. I loved that Barry was a total noob at, you know, at superheroing. And, you know, he just needed that little bit of a push from Batman in order to kind of, you know, come to terms with who he is. And then he's able to, like, go in and, you know, push the sword to Wonder Woman and grow into his powers. So I really love that moment, and it was gone. And I get why, because this time around they put the focus on Cyborg, who, again, you know, this is mostly his movie. But yeah, I was really disappointed to see that bit gone. And the only other couple of things, and again, it's been talked about to death, the music that appears every time Wonder Woman does something, like, yeah, that was a little bit sort of overwhelming. It wasn't very subtle. Like, yeah, every time she like does something on screen, you get that, you know, ancient goddess music happening, and it's kind of like, oh wow, yeah, you kind of just really beating us over the head with the music right now, aren't you? And of course, the other thing, and this is another thing that a lot of people are talking about, is what the hell is up with Mira's accent? Now, for starters, I get that a lot of people were vastly disappointed that Amber Heard actually, you know, made it into this film, and that's fair enough, but I'm not going to get into all that. I just don't get why she now has a British accent. Like, I read somewhere that Zack Snyder wanted to give the Atlanteans sort of a otherworldly, you know, feeling, and so he wanted to give them different accents or whatever, but it doesn't fit in with the continuity. Like, in Aquaman, she had a broad American accent, and now all of a sudden she's talking British, and there's just no justification. There is no reason for that happening at all. You know, that to me was just kind of like, Zack was just like, you know, no, I want it that way. I don't care if it doesn't match the other stuff. This is my movie, and we'll do whatever I want to do. Which, yeah, like, you know, it's good for him that he got to do his own movie the way he wanted to, but maybe, you know, sort of not leave us sitting there going, what the fuck is up with her accent? So I think overall, those are probably the standout things that I wanted to talk about that I couldn't really talk about. But yeah, look, again, overall, I just loved it. I could definitely sit down and watch it again anytime soon, because yeah, even though it is 4 hours, like, it is really engrossing for the most part. And while I still maintain that there are certain scenes that could be removed and, you know, maybe bring it down to like 3 hours or so, yeah, good on Zack for getting the movie that he wanted out there to us and overcoming all those odds against him and stuff. So yeah, I don't know, let's see if we can overcome more odds and get a Justice League 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. Yeah, I don't know. I would love to see it continue. I mean, you know, you look at the Marvel films, the fact that Iron Man came out in 2008, and like, for the most part, aside from the Hulk and probably a couple of other minor characters, like, they've just maintained the same cast the whole way through, and yeah, that's commendable. Damn it, DC, you had one job. Anyway, so that's my spoiler thoughts on Zack Snyder's Justice League. I still maintain that it's a 9 out of 10. I loved it, and yeah, can't wait to own it on Blu-ray and all that sort of stuff. I know I'm asking way too much for them to release a 3D Blu-ray, but yeah, they're crossed. All right, so fill the comments section with spoilers. Go right ahead, because there's no excuse for people to go, oh, there's spoilers in the comments, because yeah, that's what we're here for. So yeah, what were some of the things that you guys, you know, liked or didn't like in terms of between the two different versions of the film? Like, were there actually some things in the Whedon version that you liked more than the whatever his name is, Zack Snyder? That's it, the Zack Snyder version. Yeah, so fire away. Drop some comments either here, Facebook, or Twitter. All the social media links are in the description below, because I like to talk about movies, and I would love to talk about movies with you. I'll catch you next time.
Click subscribe to stay up to date with all the latest movie reviews. Skynet will be taking over any day now, so what have you got to lose? Nyah.